twin suns burned over the alien slave market. The air was hot, heavy, and filled with the smell of dust and fear. Tall gates opened into a wide circle where hundreds of creatures gathered. Strange voices echoed, laughter mixed with cries. Some aliens had shining scales. Others had long arms like ropes, and some walked with clicking metal legs. All of them came for one thing: slaves. On the wooden stage, slaves were lined up like animals. Some looked strong, their muscles tight, their eyes empty. Traders shouted prices, showing their teeth, waving gold coins and glowing stones. Each slave was sold quickly, one after another. But near the end of the line stood a girl. She was small, thin, and covered in dust. Her hair hung in knots. Her skin was pale, marked with bruises from chains. She kept her head down, eyes staring at the ground. While others were sold in minutes, she remained. The crowd looked at her and shook their heads. No strength, one alien hissed. Not even fit to clean floors, another spat. She is worthless. The trader pushed her forward, forcing her to stand taller. Look, a young one still alive. Who will take her? He shouted. But no hand rose. No coin was offered. Instead, the crowd began to laugh. The girl heard every word. Each laugh cut deeper than the chains on her arms. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the ground. She knew nobody would take her. She had been moved from one market to another, always rejected, always mocked. The trader grew angry. Buy her, even for cheap. She eats little, she will obey. He pulled her forward again. Still no one cared. Minutes passed. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretched across the market. The girl remained unsold. Whispers spread among the crowd, leave her. No one will pay. She will die by morning. Better to throw her away. Her heart grew heavy. Hope, once small but alive, now faded like dust in the wind. She closed her eyes, wishing for silence. And then, in the middle of the crowd, footsteps echoed. Slow, steady, different from all others. A figure pushed through the crowd. Taller than most, broad-shouldered, walking with calm steps. His face was hidden under a hood, but his eyes glowed with quiet fire. It was a human. The crowd fell silent for a moment. Humans rarely came to this market. They were known for their pride, for their strange ways, for their belief that every life had value. What was a human doing here? The man walked closer, ignoring the whispers. He stopped in front of the stage, his gaze fixed on the girl. She felt his eyes on her, heavy but not cruel. Slowly she raised her head. For the first time in years, she met someone's eyes without fear. The trader smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Human, look at this girl. Weak, yes, but cheap. Take her and you will not regret it. The man did not speak at first. He studied her, silent, his face unreadable. The crowd began to murmur again. Will he actually buy her? Impossible. Humans are not so foolish. She is not worth even a coin. Finally, the human spoke. His voice was calm, deep, and strong. I'll take her. The market froze. Every laugh died. Every whisper stopped. Even the trader's smile faded. You will take her? The trader asked, as if he had not heard right. The human nodded. Yes, she is mine now. The crowd exploded with laughter and disbelief. Madness, one alien shouted. A waste of money, another howled. Humans are strange, but this is foolish. The girl's heart raced. She could not understand why. Why would anyone choose her? Her lips trembled, but no words came. The human reached into his cloak and threw a bag of coins onto the table. The sound of metal striking wood echoed through the market. The trader's eyes widened. It was more money than he expected, far more than she was worth. The laughter stopped again. Whispers turned into gasps. He paid that much for her? Does he know something we don't? Why would he give real silver for trash? The girl stared at the man, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. Her chains were unlocked, and for the first time her arms were free. The trader pushed her forward roughly. She is yours. Take her and leave. The human stepped forward, steady and calm. He placed a cloak around the girl's shoulders, hiding her bruises. Then he spoke softly, words only she could hear. You are not worthless, not to me. Her breath caught in her throat. Nobody had ever said that to her. For a moment she forgot the market, the chains, the laughter. All she heard was his voice. But around them the crowd still whispered, eyes filled with suspicion and anger. Something was not right. A human buying what no alien wanted, paying so much for one girl. The story of shame was only beginning. The market still buzzed with whispers after the human's words. His choice was strange, unbelievable, even dangerous. No one dared to stop him directly. but all eyes followed him as he led the girl away from the stage. The bag of coins still lay heavy on the trader's table, and the sound of chains falling from the girl's wrists still echoed in the minds of the crowd. The girl stumbled as she stepped down from the platform. Her legs were weak, shaking from years of hunger and fear. She almost fell, but the human caught her arm gently. For the first time in her life, someone's touch did not hurt. "Stand," he said softly, steadying her. His voice was calm, not like the harsh shouts of the traders. She lifted her head, confused. Why would a human, a stranger, care if she stood or fell? The crowd began to laugh again, though their laughter was thin, nervous. "Look at him," one alien hissed. "He wastes silver on trash," another muttered. "He will regret it by tomorrow." But the human ignored them. His hood shadowed his face, but his eyes never left the girl. He pulled the cloak tighter around her, hiding her frail body from the stairs. With a firm step, he guided her through the crowd. Each alien moved aside, some mocking, others whispering, a few glaring with envy. Behind them, the trader shouted to close the sale and called for the next slave. The noise of the market swelled again, but the girl felt as if the world had gone silent. All she could hear was the steady sound of his boots against the stone floor. She tried to speak but could not. Her voice was weak, unused. At last she whispered, barely audible, "Why?" The human glanced at her. His expression did not change, but his words were clear. "Because you were alone." Her chest tightened. Alone, yes, she had always been alone. But nobody had ever seen her that way before. They walked past stalls filled with strange goods, glowing fruits, sharp weapons, jars of dark liquid. The smell of smoke and spice filled the air. The girl's eyes darted nervously. She was afraid someone would jump out and drag her back. But the human's presence was like a wall around her, firm and unshakable. Still, not everyone was pleased. A group of tall aliens with skin like cracked stone watched them closely. One of them spat on the ground. "Humans should not meddle," he growled. Another nodded. "He will bring trouble on himself." The human noticed, but he did not stop. His hand rested lightly on the girl's shoulder, guiding her forward. At the edge of the market, the noise grew fainter. The girl looked around, unsure of where they were heading. For the first time, fear of the unknown mixed with a strange new feeling. Hope. They stopped near a quiet corner, away from the noise. The human lowered his hood and the girl saw his face. His eyes were sharp but kind, his skin marked with scars that spoke of battles long past. He looked strong, but his gaze was gentle. "You are free now," he said. The girl's lips trembled. The words did not make sense. Free? She had been born in chains, raised in cages, sold like an object. Freedom was not a word she understood. I don't understand," she whispered. "You will," he answered. But their moment did not last. Heavy footsteps echoed behind them. The crowd had not forgotten. A group of aliens followed, their faces twisted with anger and greed. They surrounded the corner, blocking the way out. The leader, a tall creature with burning red eyes, stepped forward. "Human," he sneered. "You paid too much for that one. Tell us, what do you see in her?" The human said nothing. His silence was like iron. The alien smirked. "Maybe she hides something. Maybe you know more than we do. Hand her over and we will let you walk away." The girl's heart raced. Fear gripped her again. She clutched the cloak around her, trembling. The human finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "She belongs to me now, and I do not share." Gasps spread through the group. His words carried weight, a warning. But the aliens did not back away. They laughed, circling closer. The girl's breath came fast. She thought he would leave her, just like everyone else had before. She waited for him to step aside, to let them take her. Instead, he moved in front of her, his body between her and the aliens. His hand rested near the weapon at his belt, though he had not yet drawn it. "She is under my protection," he said. His voice was steady, unshaken. The aliens growled, their eyes glowing with anger. One stepped closer, claws raised. The crowd behind them whispered eagerly, waiting to see what would happen next. The girl closed her eyes, bracing for pain. But instead she heard the human's calm words once again. "No one touches her." The market of shame had mocked her, rejected her, and left her in chains. But now, a stranger from another world stood against them all, and in that moment the story truly began. The narrow street outside the market grew tense. The human stood tall, the girl behind him, while the circle of aliens tightened around them. Their eyes glowed with greed and their mouths curled into mocking smiles. The crowd from the market had followed, curious to see the strange human's fate. The leader of the group, with skin like cracked stone and burning red eyes, laughed loudly. His voice echoed through the street like a drum. "Look at this, brothers. A human buying what no one else wanted. Tell me, what is she worth to you, human? Why risk your life for trash?" The others laughed with him, their voices sharp and cruel. Some slammed their fists against the walls while others spat at the ground. The girl trembled, clutching the cloak tightly around her. Her eyes darted from one monster to another, knowing that if they reached for her, she could not run. The human did not flinch. His shoulders were broad, his back straight. His voice was calm, steady, carrying no fear. "She is worth more than all of you." The street grew quiet for a moment. Then the laughter exploded again, louder than before. The aliens bent over, howling with mockery. "Did you hear him? He thinks she is valuable. Humans always speak nonsense. Maybe he has lost his mind." But beneath the laughter, the tension grew sharper. The aliens were not laughing because they thought it funny. They laughed because they smelled blood. The leader stepped closer, his heavy boots shaking the ground. He leaned forward, close to the human's face. "You think you can protect her? You think you can walk out of here with her alive? Give her to us. We will even let you leave with your head still on your shoulders." The girl's heart raced. She felt the air grow colder, sharper, like a knife against her skin. She waited for the human to step aside, to hand her over like every master before him had done. But instead he moved one step closer to her, blocking her completely from their view. His voice was low, but every word carried weight. "She is mine, and no one takes what is mine," the leader snarled. The air around him shimmered with heat. His men drew closer, claws scraping, weapons flashing in the dim light. The crowd behind them leaned forward, hungry for violence. "Kill him," someone whispered. "Take the girl. She is hiding something. Let's see how long a human lasts." The girl's knees went weak. She wanted to scream, to beg him to run, but her throat locked. She could not speak. The leader raised his arm, claws glowing red, ready to strike. The human did not move. His hand hovered near the weapon at his belt, his stance steady as stone. The silence stretched. The crowd held its breath, and then he smiled. It was not the smile of fear nor of weakness. It was the quiet smile of someone who had faced death before and did not bow to it. "If you touch her," he said slowly, "you will not live to regret it." The aliens froze for a moment, surprised by his calm. Then the laughter returned, but this time it was sharper, angrier. "Threats? From a human? He is brave, or stupid. Let us test his words." The leader lunged forward, claws swinging. The girl gasped, covering her face. But before the strike could land, the human moved. His weapon flashed faster than the eye could follow. Steel met stone and sparks burst into the air. The crowd roared in shock. The leader staggered back, his arm cut, glowing blood dripping onto the ground. He stared at the human, his rage burning hotter than fire. "You dare!" he shouted. "You dare wound me for her?" The human's weapon glimmered in the dim light. He held it with ease, his voice as calm as ever. "I warned you." The girl's eyes widened. She had never seen anyone stand for her before. Never had anyone risk their life to protect her. Her chest ached with something she did not understand, something close to hope. But the danger was far from over. The other aliens roared in fury, raising their weapons, stepping forward together. The crowd began to chant, their voices rising. "Fight! Fight! Fight!" The girl clutched the cloak, trembling. Her mind screamed that they were both doomed. But deep inside, a spark flickered. The human was different. He did not laugh, did not mock, did not fear. The leader pointed his bleeding claw at him and growled. "Then you die with her." The street erupted as the circle closed. Weapons drawn, eyes blazing. The girl squeezed her eyes shut, certain this was the end. But the human's voice rose above the chaos, calm and unshaken. "Then let it begin." The narrow street exploded with noise. The aliens rushed forward, claws raised, weapons flashing in the fading light. Their voices roared like thunder, their feet shook the stone floor. The crowd cheered, hungry for blood. The girl stood frozen, clutching the cloak around her trembling body. Fear gripped her heart. She had lived her whole life in chains, but never had she seen such danger aimed at one man. She thought the human would fall in seconds, but he did not. The human moved with sharp speed. His blade flashed like lightning, striking the first attacker's arm and sending the weapon clattering to the ground. A second alien swung a heavy club, but the human ducked, rolling to the side. He struck back, and the alien fell with a cry. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread quickly. He fights like a soldier. Humans should not be this strong. What is he hiding? The leader with burning red eyes snarled, his rage boiling. Kill him! Take the girl. More attackers rushed. The human blocked, dodged, and struck with precision. He was not wild, not reckless. Every move was calm, measured, controlled. His blade was not only a weapon, it was a warning, yet there were too many. For each alien that fell, 2 more pressed forward. The circle closed tighter. The girl's heart pounded. She knew he could not fight them all forever. Then the human made a choice. He pushed the girl behind him, his voice firm and steady. Run when I say. Do not stop, her eyes widened. But no words. Just run. Before she could answer, he struck again, knocking one alien into another. The circle broke for a second. He grabbed her hand and pulled her forward. Now! They ran. The girl stumbled at first, her legs weak, but his grip held her steady. Together they rushed down a narrow alley, past broken stalls and flickering lamps. Behind them, furious shouts rang out. Heavy footsteps followed. They're escaping. Don't let them leave! Catch the human. Catch the girl! The chase had begun. The market's alleys twisted like a maze. Shadows stretched long as the suns dipped lower. The girl's breath came in gasps, her body weak from years of hunger. But the human did not let go. His stride was strong, his focus clear. Every turn, every step was chosen with purpose. But the hunters were close. Their claws scraped the walls, their shouts echoed louder. The girl's chest burned. Her legs screamed in pain. I can't, she whispered. You can, he answered, his voice steady even in the chaos. One more step. Always one more step. They turned a corner only to find a dead end, a wall of stone too high to climb. The girl froze, panic rising. We're trapped! The hunter's footsteps thundered closer. The leader's voice roared in triumph. Nowhere to run, human. The girl is ours! The girl's hands shook. Her body collapsed against the wall. She could not move, could not think. This was the end, but the human did not panic. He scanned the wall quickly, his sharp eyes catching something others would have missed, a narrow gap between 2 broken stones. He shoved his blade into the crack, twisting with strength. The wall groaned, a loose stone shifting. Here, he said. Through the gap. The girl stared, wide-eyed. The space was small, sharp with broken edges. I can't fit. You can, he insisted. Go now. Tears burned her eyes. Her whole life she had been told she was weak, useless, worthless. But his voice left no room for doubt. She pushed herself forward, squeezing through the sharp stones, scraping her arms. And then, she was free on the other side. The human pulled his blade free and followed, forcing the gap wider with his strength. Just as the hunters burst into the alley, he slipped through, the wall sealing them from sight. The alien shouted in rage, pounding the stones. Find another way. Don't let them escape. On the other side, the girl gasped, tears streaking her dirty face. Her chest ached, her arms bled from cuts, but she was alive. The human knelt beside her, his breath steady. He pulled the cloak tighter around her shoulders, hiding her wounds. You did well, he said softly. Her eyes met his. Nobody had ever said that to her. Nobody had ever believed in her strength. But there was no time to rest. The market's maze stretched endlessly, and the hunters would not stop. Already the echo of footsteps grew closer. Spreading through the alleys, the girl whispered, fear trembling in her voice. They won't stop until they catch us. The human's gaze was steady, his voice low but unshaken. Then we will not stop until we are free. He rose, blade in hand, scanning the dark paths ahead. The girl followed, her heart racing. For the first time, she felt the faint spark of something she had never known, trust. But behind them, the hunters split into groups, their voices echoing like wolves in the night, and among them the leader whispered a vow, his red eyes burning brighter. Run, human. Run as far as you can. You cannot keep her from us forever. The chase had only just begun. The night air was cold as the human, and the girl moved deeper into the maze of alleys. The noise of the slave market faded behind them, replaced by silence broken only by their footsteps. The girl clutched the cloak tightly around her shoulders, her heart still pounding from the chase. Her body was weak, her legs trembling, but the human's hand on her arm kept her steady. He did not speak, only guided her forward with calm steps. His silence was not harsh, it was steady, protective, like a shield. Finally, when they reached a quiet courtyard hidden among broken walls, he stopped. The girl collapsed against the stone, breathing hard. Her thin chest rose and fell rapidly, her face pale in the dim moonlight. The human knelt beside her. He checked her arms where the stones had cut her skin, tearing a strip of cloth from his sleeve to bind the wounds. His hands were strong but gentle. She flinched at first, but he only said, "You are safe here, for now." The word sank into her heart. Safe. It was a word she had never believed in. Still trembling, she whispered, Why do you protect me?" The human's eyes met hers. They were calm, steady, but sharp like steel. "Because they see you as nothing. But I see more." Her breath caught. Nobody had ever looked at her that way before. Nobody had ever spoken to her like she mattered. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The cold wind moved through the broken courtyard, carrying the faint sound of footsteps far behind. The hunters were still searching, but not here. Not yet. The girl closed her eyes, and something long buried stirred within her. Memories she had tried to forget returned. Memories of fire, betrayal, and chains. "I was not born in the market," she whispered. Her voice shook, but once it began, the truth spilled out. "I was not always a slave." The human stayed silent, listening. His face did not change, but his eyes grew sharper. "My family," she hesitated, swallowing hard. "They were part of a noble house, powerful, respected. My father held the seal of the stars." The human's eyes narrowed. He knew that name. The seal of the stars was no trinket. It was a symbol of authority, a key to ancient knowledge. If her family had held it, they were no ordinary aliens. "They wanted power," she continued. "My own blood betrayed us. My parents were killed. I was taken. They sold me to silence me, to erase me." Her voice broke, trembling as she clutched the cloak tighter. "And so I became nothing, worthless." The human did not speak immediately. He studied her, his mind racing. If her words were true, then she was not just another slave. She was the last of a noble line, carrying secrets others would kill to bury. Finally, he said, "You are not worthless. They feared you. That is why they tried to erase you." Her eyes filled with tears. For so long she had believed the voices of the market, the laughter, the chains. But now, hearing his words, something inside her shifted. Still, fear returned quickly. "If they find me, they will kill me. And they will kill you too." The human's voice was steady, unshaken. "Then we will not let them find us." The girl wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust. But in the distance, the faint echo of hunters grew louder again. The night was not safe. The shadows moved with danger. The human rose, offering his hand. "Come, we must move." She took his hand, rising weakly. But in her chest, something else stirred. Something she had tried to bury with her past. It was not only fear, it was power. A secret she had never spoken aloud. As they slipped into another alley, she whispered, almost too quiet to hear, "There is something else." The human glanced at her. "What?" She lowered her head. "I was not only born to a noble house. I carry what they fear most, a gift." Her hand trembled as she touched the mark hidden beneath her sleeve, glowing faintly under her skin. "It is inside me." The human's eyes widened slightly, though his face stayed calm. He had suspected she was important, but this was more. If what she carried was real, then the hunters would never stop. Before he could speak, the night erupted with sound. A howl rose from the alleys, inhuman and loud. The hunters had found their trail again. Red eyes glowed in the shadows, claws scraped against stone. The girl froze, terror rushing back. She whispered, "They know. They know what I am." The human's blade slid free with a soft metallic ring. His stance was steady, unyielding. His voice was calm, but every word carried steel. "Then we will show them why they should fear you." The hunters closed in, their laughter echoing through the night. And in that moment, the secret inside her began to awaken. The alley shook with the sound of heavy steps. Shadows crawled across the broken walls as the hunters closed in. Their red eyes glowed like fire in the darkness. The girl's breath came fast. Her trembling hand pressed over the faintly glowing mark beneath her sleeve. The human stood before her, his blade drawn, his stance unshaken. He was one man against many, but his presence filled the narrow street like an unmovable wall. The leader of the hunters stepped forward, claws dripping with fury. His cracked stone skin gleamed under the moonlight. "There is no escape, human," he hissed. "The girl carries what is ours. Hand her over and perhaps we will let you live." The human's voice was calm, iron strong.
"She belongs to no one."
"Not you, not them, not even me. She is free." The crowd of hunters roared with laughter, their voices sharp and cruel. The sound echoed off the walls, filling the night with menace. "Free?" one mocked. "There is no freedom for her kind." "She is a tool," another sneered. "A weapon to be used." The girl flinched at their words, her knees weak. She had heard those voices before in every market, in every chain, but tonight something was different. The mark beneath her skin burned hotter, glowing brighter. The leader snarled, raising his claw. "Then die with her." With a roar, the hunters charged. The human moved like lightning. His blade clashed against claws and steel, sparks filling the air. Each strike was precise, each step calculated. He was one against many, yet he held the line. The girl watched, fear and awe mixing in her chest. He fought not for wealth, not for pride, but for her. Still, the hunters were endless. For every one he cut down, two more pressed forward. The narrow alley became a storm of blades, claws, and fire. The girl's heart raced. The mark beneath her sleeve pulsed brighter, burning like fire in her veins. She gasped, clutching her arm. Her voice trembled. I can't." "Hold it." The human glanced back even as he fought. His eyes met hers, calm and firm. "Then don't hold it." "Let it out." She froze. Fear gripped her chest. All her life she had been told her gift was dangerous, cursed, the reason she was chained. If she let it out, she feared it would consume everything. But as she looked at him, this stranger who had claimed her not as property but as a person, something changed. His faith in her was like a spark in the dark. The hunters pushed closer. The human's blade slowed, his arm heavy from endless strikes. The leader raised his claw, ready to tear through them both, and then the girl screamed. Light burst from her skin, blinding white mixed with silver fire. The mark on her arm blazed, lines of energy spreading across her body. The air cracked, the ground trembled, and a wave of force exploded outward. The hunters were thrown back, their bodies slamming into walls. Their laughter turned to screams. The leader staggered, shielding his burning eyes. The girl stood trembling, her body glowing with hidden power. Energy swirled around her like a storm, lifting the cloak from her shoulders. Her once weak frame now shone with a light that bent the darkness. The human lowered his blade, his eyes never leaving her. He did not step back. He did not fear her. He simply nodded as if he had expected this all along. The girl's voice shook as she spoke, echoing with strange power. I remember now. What they wanted from me. Why they feared me. I carry the light of the seal. Gasps spread through the hunters even as they struggled to rise. The seal of the stars, the very symbol of power she had spoken of, was alive within her. The leader roared, his rage breaking the silence. "You are not free, girl. That power belongs to us. It belongs to the Empire." The girl's eyes burned with new fire. For the first time she lifted her head not in shame but in defiance. "No, it belongs to me." She raised her hand and the air rippled with silver fire. The hunters staggered, their strength faltering. Some turned to flee, others growled in fear. But the leader stood firm, his eyes burning brighter. "You cannot control it. It will destroy you, and him." He pointed a claw at the human. The girl hesitated. The power surged wildly, burning inside her chest. She feared the leader's words might be true. The human stepped closer, his voice steady, cutting through the storm. "You are stronger than they say. Stronger than they fear. Control it, own it." "It is yours," her breath shook. Tears burned her eyes. She looked at him. At the one person who had seen her as more than chains, more than weakness. His calm gaze held her steady. The power in her veins surged, wild and unstoppable. She raised her hand higher, light blazing across the alley. The hunters screamed, covering their eyes. The leader roared louder than them all, his voice shaking the walls. "You will burn us all, girl. You cannot hold it." The light grew brighter, hotter. The ground cracked beneath her feet. The girl's scream echoed into the night as her power reached its peak. And then, silence. The hunters froze. The human stood still, and the girl's glowing figure trembled in the center of the storm. Something was about to happen, something that would change everything. The courtyard burned with silver light. The girl stood at the center, her body glowing with power that shook the very stones beneath her feet. Cracks spread through the ground. Walls trembled and the air was alive with energy. The hunters staggered back, their red eyes wide with fear. Some dropped their weapons and fled into the night, their courage broken. Others crouched low, shielding themselves from the storm of light. But the leader, his cracked stone skin burning with rage, did not move. He roared above the chaos, his voice sharp and desperate. "You cannot control it. You are a weapon, nothing more. You will destroy him and yourself." The girl's hands shook. The power surged wildly, too great for her small frame. Her breath came in gasps, her body trembling as if it would break apart. She turned her eyes toward the human, fear shining through the glow. "I can't stop it," she whispered. Her voice echoed like two voices in one, the girl she had always been and something greater awakening inside her. The human stepped forward. He did not shield his eyes from the blinding light. His face was calm, his step steady. The glow wrapped around him, but he did not falter. "You can," he said simply. His voice was low but carried through the storm like steel. "Not because of them, not because of me, because it is yours." Her tears glimmered in the light. "But if I lose control, then let me be the one to stand with you," he interrupted. "Even if the galaxy burns." The words cut through the chaos, anchoring her. The laughter of traitors, the jeers of hunters, the memory of chains, all of it seemed to vanish. What remained was his voice. The storm inside her slowed, the fire bending to her will. The glow steadied, no longer tearing through her but flowing like a river she could guide. For the first time she felt control. For the first time she was not afraid of herself. The hunters realized too late. The leader shouted, "No! Stop her before—" But the girl raised her hand, silver light bursting outward. The wave struck the hunters, throwing them into the air like leaves in a storm. Their screams echoed as they slammed against stone, their weapons shattering. The alley fell silent except for the hum of her power. The leader staggered back, his red eyes burning with fury. His cracked skin glowed with wounds, yet he still stood. "This is not over," he bellowed. "The Empire will hunt you both. The seal belongs to us. You cannot escape." The girl's eyes burned with new strength. She lifted her chin, her voice steady. "I am not your weapon. I am not your slave. I am free." The leader roared and lunged one last time, claws aimed at her heart. But before he could strike, the human moved. His blade flashed, cutting through the air. The leader froze, eyes wide, before collapsing at their feet. Silence fell. The girl stood trembling, the glow fading slowly from her body. She looked down at the fallen leader, then at the human who still stood between her and death. Her chest ached, not from fear this time, but from something new. "You chose me," she whispered. The human wiped the blade clean, sliding it back into its sheath. His voice was calm as always. "I told you. You are not worthless." Her tears spilled freely now, but they were not only tears of sorrow. For the first time in her life, she cried because she felt hope. Around them, the courtyard lay in ruins. Faint whispers carried through the night as those who had watched fled to spread the tale. The girl who glowed with the seal. The human who defied the market. They killed the hunters. By morning, the story would spread across the stars. A girl once mocked as worthless, claimed by a human no one understood, had destroyed her chains and revealed her true power. The galaxy would never forget it. The girl turned to him, her voice soft. "What happens now?" The human looked out at the night, his eyes calm but sharp. "Now," he said, "we run, and then we fight." Her heart pounded. She did not know where the path would lead, but for the first time she wanted to walk it, not alone, but beside him. As the two of them disappeared into the shadows of the city, the ruins of the courtyard still glowed faintly with silver light, and far beyond the stars, in palaces of power and halls of war, whispers began to stir. A human had claimed what no alien wanted. A slave had become something greater. The galaxy would remember this night, and it would never be the same again.